say scoop. And something that I think made waves this week was the NCAA is actually going to be allowing amateur athletes to make money from their likeness.
Let's just take a second to clap for that. It's about time.
It is about time, man. So in the future, we may be able to see some more NCAA video games, athletes with clothing brands, or some type of thing such similar to that. How do you think this impacts the future? And is this a positive step?
I feel like, first of all, for those who are saying that college athletes are privileged, and I'm personally not a college athlete, but I have friends that are. They're not as privileged as you think they are. They have a pretty tight schedule. Sometimes it's tough for them to eat, not from a time, but just like from financial perspective. But I do believe if your university's football, basketball, whatever it is that makes them the most money for the university, I feel like the kids they're getting that exposure, don't get me wrong, and I feel like that's something that can never, can be replaced, as well as education. I feel like their image is they're being used.
Right.
Never would I wouldn't say slave, but it's just like, the perception of it. Because, that's a very controversial topic. Let me say it again. We're not using anything with that. We know, so we got it together. But I feel like though if they're bringing in about 100,000 plus fans and people are coming to see them, why not? You know what I'm saying? Break bread and find some type of way to like just kind of compensate them, especially like for those who don't have, backgrounds aren't really stable and they come from single parent households, or even if they don't come from, some compensation for them because they are college students at the end of the day.
Right.
And they don't have time to make money. Some people say their money's during the season, but I mean, they have to eat. They got to go home. They got homework to do. They have, I feel like they should have that. They should be granted that. It's been long overdue, but I'm happy that NCAA has took the initiative to make that step. What do you think?
I think it's definitely long overdue. With the advent of social media and a lot of these athletes coming out with huge followings, and I feel like they're just not being given the opportunity, at least, to kind of market themselves. Like, I know if you remember, and I know a lot of y'all viewers probably remember the Jelly Fam wave. Of course, that's still a thing. Everyone's doing the jelly, and the Jelly Fam guys, a lot of them guys who were currently in college, were not able to profit off of that at the peak, height of the popularity when it was out. They couldn't make any T-shirts, they couldn't brand it, they couldn't trademark, they couldn't do a lot of things. And you saw there was plenty of companies, maybe self-owned, independent to larger in companies that were kind of coming out with Jelly Fam T-shirts and gimmicks, and Nike even came out with Jelly Fam type stuff, and these guys weren't seeing any money from that. So I definitely think that the athletes, especially with these large followers that they're getting, especially amateur athletes, should be able to at least market off of these things, because you see things such as a lot of guys, like I said, that are not privileged in these situations, having to maybe try to sell gear and things like that. Then, if I have my name on a jersey and I can't sell that jersey, or I can't kind of market that jersey, or I feel like that's just not fair. It's because I'm, like you said, kind of being used by the school, and I think it should definitely impact a lot of things, like you said. And the California recently had passed a bill that would allow college athletes to get paid, or at least receive some type of revenue from that the school is getting from them. So I think this is going to be an interesting for a lot of schools, colleges, and this could possibly change the way the pro game is going, because next year that they're projecting that high school athletes will be able to move up out of high school immediately to the NBA. So I feel like this is going to be an interesting step, and we will see maybe less guys making that move that LaMelo Ball and RJ Barrett and Brandon James, guys like that that maybe had to go overseas, maybe for family reasons or whatever the case may be. I think that may have been a little bit different situation for them, especially guys like the Big Baller brand that may not have seen as much money because they were more so worried about their NCAA eligibility.
Right. Think of it like this. I hate to beat a dead horse, but Zion Williamson, right? When they played Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Let's see. You go to like a Division I game, right? You might pay $150 for like a D1 program of that. So let's say 150, 300, 500.
Right.
500 max. When he went to the school, tickets were going for like almost 2,000.
Right.
So you got to think, okay, if a normal ticket, courtside ticket, let's say hypothetically 500. We don't know the exact price. Where's that other 1,500 going?
Right.
It's not going to the college athlete. So
at all, he's not seeing a dime off of it.
Let's think about that.
And I think the biggest issue when it came to paying college athletes would be, how do you determine who gets what and how much? Because you can have guys that are going to Duke, maybe Kentucky, that are getting that go to schools that had these huge TV contracts, that had these giant brands that are sponsoring them. And then you may have these smaller schools that necessarily aren't seating hundreds of thousands of people in their stadiums. They're not receiving a lot of ticket sales. They're not seeing hundreds of thousands of people that are viewing them on television. They're not getting these giant brand corporations to sponsor them. It's gonna be interesting to see how they get paid versus them big guys. So it's definitely gonna be an interesting dilemma going forwards. But I think that they're definitely making some steps in the right direction.
We all for it.
Crossed over, then we slam dunk. Crossover. Michael Jordan 6 rings make me slam dunk. Turn the whiskey with the chickens, I'm a slam dunk. Hit 'em with the